welcome back to the show. This is State Signature Morning, reaching you from Tinubu. Nigeria is a secular state, no doubt. And secularism in Nigeria is as legal as it's constitutional. And of course, the government of and the state that the government of Nigeria and its states shall not adopt any religion as a state religion. Every person shall have the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. However, over the years, Nigerian governments have shown significant interest in the activities of religious bodies. While it is important for governments to always relate well with religious bodies and organizations in order to maintain cordial and stable relationship, it's also important to note that excessive government spending of taxpayers' money on religious bodies and organizations calls for a second look, if you will, some serious questioning. Our topic today is therefore on government sponsorship of religious activities amidst acute poverty in the land. Seated in the studio to have a conversation around this is Larry Oguego. Larry is a seasoned human development consultant, but more importantly, Larry is the coordinator, Human Rights Volunteer Corps. Larry, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. It's my pleasure.
It's good to see you. It's been a long time.
Yes, a long time indeed.
Okay, let's go running. In your opinion, how concerned should government be in relation to religious activities in the country? Otherwise, what should be government involvement in religious activities?
As a matter of fact, if we want our country to function well, if we want democracy to function well, we should respect the provisions of the Constitution. The government really has no business funding religious institutions or religious activities. The Constitution has already provided simple guidelines on how government should relate to religion and on spiritual matters. The guideline is very simple. No state or the federal government should adopt any religion. And then the Constitution also goes further. I think Section 10 makes it clear that we don't have a state religion, both at the state level or federal level. And then the Constitution that speaks about human rights makes it clear also that we are not supposed to actually prevent anybody from being part of any religion or even changing from one to another, or even deciding that you shouldn't have any religion at all. So government should not interfere, except the religious houses or bodies begin to behave in a way, for instance, that will interfere with the rights of the adherents, or begin to behave in a way that will make national security compromised and all of that. There are religious institutions that may sometimes preach doctrines that will affect the security of the state. There are religious institutions that sometimes will lead people to commit suicide, Jim Jones, and recently there are issues in Kenya about such religious practices. So the government has a right to protect gullible citizens. But outside that, the duty of the government is to just observe people carry out their religious practices. You know, during your introductive expenditure, I don't think there should be any expenditure. Not because I don't think people should be supported in their religious institutions, but a huge problem for a nation like Nigeria, where religion is a very sensitive matter. If you spend, for instance, ₦1 billion on religion A, and you spend 500 million on religion B, people will not begin to ask questions about maybe the population of the religion A and B, or the spread, or the reason. They will just say something that we need to take home today. It is actually illegal for government to spend money. Okay, I don't want to say this casually, because when I say it's not believe sub B or sub 1, it is ethnic groups, places of origin, sex, religious, operate the same amount, or then appropriate for people who may want to perspective. That same benefit should accrue to every other person who wants it. And it's constitutional. Sorry. The Constitution says, let's look at this again. It said, executive or administrative action, any privilege or advantage that is not accorded to citizens of Nigeria, of other ethnic groups, places of origin, sex, religious or political opinions, and Muslims. That's the standard practice once every 2 years of pilgrimage, except you are willing to fund all on equal footing. The safest thing the government should do is to stay away from any kind of pilgrimage. If the religious bodies want to support pilgrims, it should be an internal arrangement. They should raise money. The rich should fund the poor. It's not a government business, because these are the things that divide people in Nigeria. It's a debate now, but it shouldn't even be a debate. It's illegal. It's unconstitutional. If you go and look at the literal interpretation of this, which is one of the principles of interpreting a constitution, it is outrightly illegal, because they are favoring only two religions that are, they don't have a commission and nobody is talking to them. That is not fair, and it is unconstitutional. Not only that it's not fair and immoral, it is unconstitutional.
I'm just thinking, so far in our country, there's a Christian pilgrimage, there's a Muslim, that governments at all levels have expended huge amounts of money in sponsoring this. There have not been any consequences. Nobody has been taken to court.
It's because people do not know their rights. The truth is that I'm just putting it out there for those who may be interested. First thing you should do is to ask for your own commission to be formed. If you are neither a Christian nor a Muslim, you deserve your own commission, and you deserve funding. And if they do not give you the funding and the commission, you should go to court. And the truth is that it's a very simple, straightforward case. It's a constitutional matter. So I'm not saying that we should say, that Larry doesn't support people fulfilling their religious obligations. The issue here is that if you want to fulfill your religious obligations, go and get the money yourself and fulfill it. Or get somebody who wants you sincerely to go for Hajj or to Jerusalem to support you. Or the church raise money. They raise money to build houses. They raise money to build mosques in Islam. So they should also raise money to support people who go for pilgrimage. I'm not saying this because I hate religious institutions. I'm saying it because our money should be better used for things that should be beneficial to everybody, including those who don't go to church, who don't go to mosques, and who don't believe in anything. I think what we should be doing here is to encourage those who may not have thought about this, who may want to go to pilgrimage elsewhere, or who are not being considered. They should go to court and compel the government to also fund them, or stop funding anybody at all. That's the truth.
Right. I mean, Nigeria is adjudged to be a very religious nation. And so much so, even governments at state level take it upon themselves to pay monies, humongous amount of monies, to send people to pilgrimage. Sometimes I wonder what happens after pilgrimage. Do we become better people? Because at the end of the day, the whole essence of pilgrimage is edifying, you go and pray to God, and God, for forgiveness of sins, atonement of everything, that has to do with religion. But has our country become better because of the amount of persons we've been sending to pilgrimage in the last 50 years?
Maybe there are two ways to look at it, Charles. You can go to pilgrimage to become a better person, to pray that God will help you to become a better Christian, a better Muslim, or something else. But you can also go to pilgrimage to pray that God should forgive the billions you stole, the damage you've done. I mean, pilgrimage is about a religious encounter. It's also praying for forgiveness. So some people go there basically, in my opinion, most of our political pilgrims and even ordinary Nigerians go there to either pray for forgiveness of the things they've done, and even sometimes in advance for the things they will do. Because if you look at the number of Nigerians who go on pilgrimage, and you check the impact of the pilgrimage to the welfare of the citizens. I mean, all our leaders, both Christian and Muslim, go on pilgrimage severally. I mean, the religious institutions expect you to go once in a lifetime minimum. It's a ritual for them. As a matter of fact, it's an holiday. They have lost even the meaning of the pilgrimage as far as I'm concerned. And then when they go there and come back, it appears that the corruption increases. So there is no benefit to the nation. There is no benefit, not only that we shouldn't fund it, even those who fund it from their pockets, I do not see the real benefit. If you go to Jerusalem and you walk through the places that Jesus Christ walked, and after all that ceremony, you didn't learn anything about the way Jesus behaved as a leader, something is wrong with you. And if you go to Mecca and Medina, and then you are not meditating about how the country you have gone to, let's leave religion aside, how they are able to organize this Hajj. They make minimum of 15 to 20 billion US dollars every year from Hajj. They provide high-speed trains for you. They provide luxury tents. They provide amazing facilities. You go there, you pray, you see all these things, and you don't think of how to replicate it in your country. Something is terribly wrong with you. It means you shouldn't go at all. So we need to even think about these things beyond spirituality. All the countries people go to for pilgrimage are beautiful countries that are well run. Then the majority of the people that go there are poor, from poor nations that are badly run. And they don't learn anything from these countries. So what are they really going there to do? So I think we need to understand that Saudi Arabia is cleaning out, making plenty of money. During COVID, they were crying. I'm talking of 15 to 20 billion US dollars. And here, we don't have schools, we don't have hospitals, we don't have, we budgeted 50 billion to train our children in school. That is for the funding of the scholarship scheme for undergraduates. And we budgeted 90 billion so that people will go and pray for forgiveness of sins that they commit against the state and against ourselves. How does that work? Almost twice the amount for a spiritual jamboree, if that's what it is. And then you don't think that we need to fund education. You can't pay ASU because we don't have money. We don't have hospitals that work. And we are spending money just going to pray for forgiveness. When you can stay here and say the same prayer and it has the same result.
Larry,
how does that work?
Larry, I'm tempted to agree with you. But
no, you should agree. It's not about the temptation. Because these things, it's self-explanatory.
Yeah, I will be asking you, what do you consider to be the potential risks and benefits, if any, of government involvement in all this? What are the risks and what are the benefits, if any?
For me, the biggest risk is the fact that religion is one of the most divisive issues in this country. Funding religion necessarily is the fastest way to create controversies that you can't manage. Let me tell you the truth, and this is the plain truth. Maybe people don't want to talk about it, but I will talk about it. Now that this administration has spent 90 billion on pilgrimage to Mecca, you'll be surprised that some Christians already have their calculators and they are waiting to know how much that they will get when they want to go to Jerusalem. And now I've also given the others the wisdom to go and ask for their own, so they will know how much they will get when they want to go to wherever to observe their own pilgrimage. So it's very divisive. That's the biggest risk. We should leave religion alone in this country. That is on the part of government, so that people should sort themselves out when it comes to religious matters. And I'm saying this with all seriousness. I'm not against religion. I'm just saying that it's a personal thing. Religion is not a state thing. Anytime you mix religion and state, you have a fire that you cannot control. And then what are the benefits? I see very little benefits, really, if any. I'll be honest with you, I don't see any benefit. The only way we can begin to talk about benefits, if you want to be creative, is, for instance, for government to say, oh, if you do well, and maybe we want to reward you. Just like you give people national award and national honor. Maybe you are a Nigerian and you've done something very well, and you choose to go to Hajj as your own reward. We'll send you. That's so, which means that you earned it. For me, this issue of just throwing money, giving people help to go for religious pilgrimage shouldn't be a state affair, whether at the state level or federal level. And I say it with all sense of responsibility. I know that some people who know me will want it. So, are you still with us? Yes, I'm still with you, but I'm just saying that. See, when you have a country, and let's also look at this thing properly. When you have a country where people are given the opportunity to prosper, to earn income, to flourish, they will not be able to afford to go to Hajj on their own. They will go to Jerusalem on their own. We won't be having this conversation. It's because of poverty that people are subsidizing. Go to other countries. Nobody knows when other people go and when they come back. It is because we have impoverished ourselves to the extent that we can't afford it. At the time they were floating the Naira, they knew that it was going to affect this trip. So why didn't they leave the Naira where it was? And now you need 90 billion to fund the pilgrimage. So when we create a nation where people prosper, when Americans go for Hajj, people don't know that people from America go for Hajj from all over the world. Nobody funds them. They just go. So the question is, why do we impoverish our people, use money that we should use to empower them, and then use it to send them to go and pray? And then when they come back, they are poor. Next year, we'll send them to go and pray again. Money responds to principles. Money doesn't respond to prayer. That's even the religious leaders we follow actually told us that he who does not work, let him not eat. So if you pray all day, you'll be hungry. You won't eat because money responds to solutions. So when we raise a nation that thinks that prayer is an answer to everything, to the extent that we invest in prayer, we fund prayer, you go to other countries, not your own country, to pray, then something is fundamentally wrong with the way we reason. I don't see any benefits, really. We should allow people to find ways to go for religious observance. Let's also remember that when these pilgrimages started, both for the Christians and the Muslims, people used to trek there, use horses. Nobody funded them. Part of the process was the personal renewal that happens. It's like you have this hunger to go to the Holy Land. It's a hunger. You're willing to make sacrifice. Today, people fly in first class to go to. So they are living large and they're enjoying life. In fact, their mind is not on spiritual matters. When you are in a first class plane and you're watching all kinds of movies, and how can you be meditating at the same time? In those days, you trek, you're on a camel, passing through desert. You have people protecting you. You are praying that you get there safely, so you should be spiritual. But today, you have first class tickets. You go to a world class hotel, and then you go and do the what I call the routine exercise, and then you come back home and it's that's so simple. You take a new name and a new status, and these are the things that have bastardized religion, whichever religion. Go and ask the people who made sacrifice to found those religions. Go and ask Prophet Muhammad what he passed through. Go and ask Jesus Christ what he passed through. Then go and ask the people who go to Hajj now what they passed through. I don't see the connection at all. I don't see the connection.
Right, but again, do you think that this is, again, with what you have explained, do you think this is another way of using religion to enrich certain persons at certain positions? Because it does look like it's more like a facade. They throw up this point of people going to pray, for the country, for the good of the country. Do you think it could be somewhat a weaving tool that some leaders use in order to siphon monies?
If somebody is benefiting, there are legitimate beneficiaries, though. The airlines will benefit legitimately. Yes, they'll fly passengers to Mecca and to Jerusalem later and wherever. The people who sew uniforms. Nigeria is an interesting country. We saw thousands of uniforms of people who go to this pilgrimage. Most of us don't know.
It's for identification purposes.
Yes, I know. But the fact is that these are industries. Just like in Saudi Arabia, the telecom industry actually prays for Hajj. Hospitality industry prays. It's the king of tourism in Saudi Arabia. So there are legitimate beneficiaries, but there are also illegitimate beneficiaries. Because when they sold those uniforms, not only the teller will benefit, the person who manages the contract will benefit. When we fly in Nigeria, go and check. It's not just the ticket money that will disappear. Some other monies will disappear alongside. So some of these things may be difficult to stop because the beneficiaries are so used to enjoying the funds, both the legitimate and illegitimate beneficiaries, that after all this talk, they'll just say, well, they're well spoken, but you see, the business must go on. The truth is that, yes, there are illegitimate beneficiaries. And that is one of the things we must begin to ask ourselves. Should we continue like this? I would rather that we take a percentage of the money we use to sponsor people to go on pilgrimages, to actually promote our own religious pilgrimages. Instead of spending 90 billion here and maybe some billions there, take a percentage of that money, promote the Osun Osogbo Festival, build facilities, promote the other. I mean, people come from Brazil for Osun Osogbo, but most of us don't know. And they spend 1 month here with a lot of inflow of foreign exchange. Others have established their own, we are going. What of our own? People are already coming. Can't we promote it? Build a decent accommodation for them. Make it our own Hajj, our own Jerusalem. I mean, for those who were taken to South America, who are now coming back because they are our brothers and sisters and they held onto their traditional religion, we should give them soft land and promote our religion. A lot of Americans are now Hindus. A lot of them have joined International Society for Krishna Consciousness. The others are supporting their religion, and they are making money. They are getting tourists. And what are we doing? We are funding other people's religions. And the expense. Begin to ask ourselves questions. Is it the best way to spend money?
Larry, we should be coming down. Now, what I want to ask is the place of public opinion. You've spoken well. A lot of people have spoken to what you're saying. But public opinion, in the South, majority are Christians. In the North, Many are Muslims. And so politicians who are gunning for offices, they speak in the language of these religious bodies. And I don't know what accord they enter. Of course, if you place your mind back to the last elections on the lines that nobody will go to pilgrimage, you will get a vote. So how does public opinion shape the consequent sponsorship of these activities?
You know, we are not saying people shouldn't go on pilgrimage. I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I said that they should go
On
for their pockets.
Yeah, how does that
If
opinion
they want to
affect
trek,
those in
fine. If
government?
they want to use bicycle, fine. But we shouldn't fund the trip. But how does it shape political opinion? It's a very interesting question. And this is where I also hold media houses and civil society organizations accountable. Because we have not educated our people on the different kinds of inducement that politicians use to hoodwink us. We need to begin to train our people, even our leaders. For instance, our spiritual leaders applaud government and commend them for funding pilgrimage. When you do that, you're actually encouraging them to give us corporate bribes, to do things they shouldn't do for us. But they are not the things they should be doing for us, so that we vote for them. If I'm a bishop, I'll be more interested in the way you take care of my sons and daughters in the church. I don't want them to be abducted by people so that they'll go and look for money for ransom. I don't want them to be hungry. I don't want them to look for money for school. I don't want them to be stranded in life. These things are more important. Leave the spiritual matters to me as bishop. We'll sort it out. But how many of us have that maturity? Most of us are selfish. We put ourselves first in a very myopic way. Because even in putting ourselves first, we put ourselves last. So when you get money to go on pilgrimage, you apply for the government, you say they are responsive and they are spiritual and they are good. But in the long run, they are using the money that they should use to build your capacity as a person to succeed, to send you on pilgrimage. And that is not right. So these things are, I call them corporate bribery. That is the kind of bribe that is well packaged. They give you an inducement to believe that they are doing well, when indeed they are doing nothing. And we should begin to do proper orientation. That is the job of a National Orientation Agency. But I'm sure that if their boss should speak about this, they will fire him. so it's a conundrum of some sort. So civil society, media should begin to educate people. Schools should actually have a curriculum. That's why I like UNN and the General JZS program. People should have knowledge about life itself, so that when you see a Greek gift, you know that this is a Greek gift. It's not a proper gift.
So where do we go from here, really? How do we navigate it? How do we get off the conundrum? I mean, stop the illegal miners and of these monies that have been budgeted.
I was puzzled when you mentioned that. Yes.
And then, if possible, reduce it. Do you think there's a possibility of that to happen, given the religiosity of this part of the world?
There's a possibility if we go back to what religion really means to us. And you know there's a difference between spirituality and religion. We are just religious people. We pass through the motions. In fact, the reason Christ was punished by the system was because he was kicking against religion. So he said, don't stop praying by the street corner and making noise. Stop flaunting your donations. That is religiosity. So he said, if you are giving 1 million, stand up. When you stand up, you have collected your reward. People say, he has given church 1 million. They clap for you. You know, so when we redefine what religion and spirituality means, when people understand spirituality, they will understand that going to Mecca or Jerusalem and getting a title doesn't make you any better than the poor man who is in his village and is praying to God sincerely and doing the things God would have him do. We have to, first of all, redefine spirituality. We have to remove it from the razzmatazz that is associated with now. When we successfully redefine spirituality, you find out that the hunger to go for pilgrimages will reduce, except you can afford it, and it will enhance your spirituality. If you are going for a pilgrimage, whether you're going to Jerusalem or Mecca, to my village, and it doesn't enhance your spirituality, you're wasting your money, or you're doing tourism. So we need to go back to the fundamentals. People need to be educated. And when people are properly educated, they will not see giving them money to go for pilgrimage as a proper gift. So we need to have an enlightened population. One of the biggest problems we have in Nigeria is that we don't have an enlightened population. When we have an enlightened population, what they'll be asking for from government to change. And then when we have an enlightened population, they also have the capacity to hold leaders accountable to say, no, we don't want your subsidy for pilgrimage. We want better schools. We want better roads. We want, I went to a public school. My parents, as a civil servant, trained several graduates, including people who are not his children. Because education was affordable. He wasn't asking for 600,000 minimum wage. He was happy. He was buying a car every 5 years. It was normal in my family. We could predict when the next car was coming. That's what we should be asking for. Not that money should be spent on sending people to go to enrich other countries at our expense. When we have our own pilgrimages, meanwhile, that are not doing very well.
Larry, you know, if we allow you, this conversation can go on ad infinitum.
No, we need to have this
Yes,
conversation.
but we must thank you. Time is not our friend. We must thank you for finding time. This is not a one-stop shop. I'm sure in no distant time we'll invite you, if not to continue this conversation, maybe for another one. And so, Charles.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
My pleasure, my privilege.
So our guest has been Larry Ogwego. He's coordinator, Human Rights Volunteer Corps, and is a seasoned human development consultant. Larry is several things to several people. Depends on which one you want to call him. Larry, thank you for your time.
It's an honor.
And of course, next will be the Vox Pop. That will lead us to another conversation with yet another guest. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome to Signature Morning. I am Quincy Rowland, and we are here to get the opinion of people on federal government allocating the sum of 90 billion naira for the purpose of religious activities, despite acute poverty in the land.
I would say it's a selfish idea for me. It's not really a voluntary idea for everybody, because not all of them were Christians, and most of these maybe Muslims and all that. There are a lot of people in the society that are very hungry. There's a lot of poverty, not just poverty for hunger, poverty for education, employment and all that. So if this money were to at least divided, if this function, those who are traveling, is for a genuine purpose, not maybe a purpose that will develop the country, it would have been a very good one. But for the fact that it's just for those people who are maybe close to the government and all that, and then are sponsored, I think it's a very wrong idea, because others are starving. Most people are not going to school, and those who are sick are in the hospital, no hospital bill for them. Those who are sick, farmers are struggling. At least if this money were to divide that for them, probably for fertilizer and other farm equipment, people will really involve themselves. There will be a lot of development. No, people will not involve themselves in maybe.
So why would we be talking 90 billion?